Welcome to Green Ball Extra. Today we're going to head over to Abu Dhabi where we've got Harry Tector. Welcome, Harry.
Hey Craig, thanks for having me on the show.
Today was meant to be a match day, of course, and frustratingly it wasn't. We all understand the circumstances why that is. What have you been up to today?
Just had a pretty chilled morning, to be honest. And then we left for training around, I think we left at 12 and then to training, and so a full training session in the nets, and then came back and had a gym session there. So it's been a busy day. Tired now.
And as for these match postponements, while we agree on the rationale behind them, what's it like as a player not knowing at times when your next match will be?
It's definitely a challenge. It's definitely difficult because you don't always, as a player, you're trying to figure out who your next game is against, and I think that's the difficult thing here because there's we don't know who that'll be, whether it'll be the UAE or Afghanistan, and I think that's probably the difficult part for your preparation. But again, it's you just gotta keep doing the things that you can control well in the nets. We're facing our own bowlers the whole time, and obviously they're very good. So your skills are kept sharp, and that's all you can do. And then when match day comes, hopefully it all comes together.
Looking back on game one of the series against the UAE, I mean, how do you reflect on that performance now?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we had a very good score. I think par at that ground in ODI cricket something like 240 or in the mid 240s. So to get 270, obviously Sterlo batted really well. So I thought going after the first innings, I thought we'd done pretty well to get a score like that. And then we started off really well with the ball, and maybe we dropped off a little, put it down to rustiness, dropped a couple of catches. But I think you have to give them credit as well, that those two lads in the middle batted beautifully, and as hard as we tried, we just couldn't break that partnership. And for our first game out, I thought it was a pretty decent effort. Obviously, there's areas all around with the bat and in the ball, with the ball and in the field that we would have liked to have improved, and that we will improve come our next game, whenever that may be. And I thought overall it was a pretty good run out, and we'll be looking to get our first win on the board whenever our next game comes.
Now, you mentioned the word catches. So can you talk us through that catch? What happened within the boundary late in the game, and did you lose it temporarily, or what happened there?
You can't really see, or you can't see on the broadcast or the TV or whatever, but the sun sets very low here on the far side of the ground. So where Gareth and I were on the boundary, we're looking straight into a low sun, and it's real dusty with the sand here, so it can be quite hard to pick up the ball. So pretty much in the previous over, without rambling on, Gaz had said to me that if it came in that sort of area where the ball went, for me to go for it, but I assumed that he was talking about along the ground. So then the ball went up in the air, and we both were running towards it, but I thought it was Garrett's catch, and he obviously thought it was my catch. So I think we both had a moment of shock when we saw that it was going to land between us. So, it was a bit of a fluke, to be honest. I just jumped at it, and it managed to stick in there. But yeah, no, it's difficult. It is difficult, especially in the second innings, fielding on that side, looking straight into the sun. It's not easy. So just glad it got in there, but unfortunately it didn't change the outcome of the game.
It didn't, but it gave us a great moment there to celebrate it towards the end of that game. A few fans have been asking, string to your bow, we haven't seen international level yet as you're bowling, actually. I mean, are you turning your arm over in the nets, and might we see Harry Tector at the bowling crease sometime?
Yeah, it's probably something that I've blown hot and cold with, in nets and in practice, and it's definitely something that I'm currently working really hard to try and get it to a level where if Bal, if he needs me to bowl, that I want to be there, that I can give him that option, and have that he has the confidence in me that I can do a job. So definitely this trip in particular, I've been trying to bowl a lot more in the nets, and I've been talking to Scra and Simi and trying to get tips off them, but it just comes from practice really, and trying to bowl more. And when you don't bowl a lot, especially in games, I find you lose a lot of confidence with the ball. So getting that back will be hard for me, but just because I haven't done it properly in a while. But I do eventually want to get to a point where, if I'm needed to bowl, that I can do a good job, and I think that will come. But it just takes practice and time, and to practice that at a proper level, as well as my batting, as well as my fielding, takes a lot of effort. But it's something I want to do, and I want to improve it. So hopefully one day, I joked with 40 and said my goal is to have one international wicket, and maybe if I bowl a bit more, I might get a couple more. But hopefully one day I'll be bowling.
Now, despite the pandemic and the rollout of vaccines and all that sort of thing, we've still got potentially a big year ahead of us, haven't we? With tours, we've got the Wolves going to Bangladesh, 3 visiting sides during the summer, and even the small thing of a T20 World Cup at the end of the year. I mean, as a player, how far are you looking ahead at this stage? Are you looking game to game, series to series, or do you consciously or unconsciously have in the back of your head the longer term?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And it was something Sturdo actually brought up at the very start of this trip. It's easy to look ahead, and I definitely do it. It's so exciting, like the amount of games that we have potentially in the lead up to the T20 World Cup in October and November, I think. But and that's incredibly exciting. And I think I'd be lying to say that I haven't thought about all that and where it fits in, and how long I'm at home and stuff like that. But I think it's also important that you don't focus on that. Yes, it's exciting. Yes, it'll be great if I play in all those games and do well and score runs and all that. But I guess the job at hand is that next game and my next innings, and that the next ball, you break it down as small as that. And I think that's all you can focus on, really. The next ball, wherever that may be, bat, ball, or in the field. So I think that for me, that's definitely something that I have to focus on, not to think too far ahead, or the next series, or the next, just focusing on the next game, the next opposition. So yeah, it's obviously a massively exciting year, and hopefully come May, June, July, when we have those home games, there'll be crowds of some sort there, and I think that'll be great, because for a lot of us, we have played, might have played like 30, 40 times for Ireland come that point, but none of us have played, or I certainly haven't played like a full home summer in front of Irish crowds, and that's something that really excites me. To hopefully have the opportunity to do that would be great, in Malahide and Stormont and Breedy. So that's really exciting, but I guess you just gotta focus on the next game and my next innings, really.
So that's an interesting point. I mean, what is the impact on your on-field play when you haven't got a crowd? Is there a noticeable impact? Do you feel it any differently?
I guess it's a bit different. It's different when you're playing in stadiums, I guess, because when you're in stadiums, it feels empty, because there's places where people should be. When you're playing in grounds where it's just a fence, like the outground here in Abu Dhabi, it feels normal. You're not too worried about it. But in the stadium, definitely it's different. But you only really think about it when you have a chance to think about it. When you're batting, you don't really think about it. But yeah, I guess that's it, really, isn't it?
That's the reality. And finally, a question for you there. If you had the chance to import into the current Irish squad a former Irish international playing at their prime, I mean, who would you choose and why?
Who would I choose? Maybe someone like Trent Johnson. I grew up. He used to coach me at school, and he used to play at YM. So someone like him, who played such a prominent role in the rise of Irish cricket, captain the 2007 World Cup, and sort of led Irish cricket through that great transition. He was definitely someone who I always looked up to when I was growing up. So someone like him would have been, pretty amazing. Obviously you hear stories about these guys, being around the squad. So to play under him or with him, whatever that may be, that I'm sure that would have been deadly, because I spent my whole, childhood and teenage years, looking up to him, and taking wickets for Ireland. So playing with him would have been pretty cool, I'd say.
Fantastic, great answer. Okay, well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for joining us, Harry.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us. Farewell.